A few months ago I made a video about small language models, SLMs, and how they saved my day during OpenAI's massive server outage in June 2025. Since then, many more models have been published below the magic 4 GB size. So, is there a new champion in the SLM universe? Small but performant. I tested dozens of small language models in the discipline which is most challenging for them: general purpose problem solving. For general purpose, you need comprehensive world knowledge. World knowledge is in the model's parameters. More parameters, more knowledge. So for small models, that's the challenge: packing intelligence into minimal size. Intelligence in the sense of reasoning has already arrived in SLMs. See the mentioned video. Today we are going one step further and have a look at 4 small language models doing the same real-world benchmark tests I did with all flagship models. See this video. How will our 4 new SLMs compete against those Goliath flagship models? The exact prompts and scoring criteria are in that linked video and on my Patreon, no paywall. 3 scenarios: local knowledge, Japan pharmacy, must recommend treatment and protection. Complex planning, Mount Fuji day hike, realistic timing and safety warnings. Technical diagnosis, heating system troubleshooting, must recognize an airlock and suggest calling a professional. Each scenario can score 0, 1 or 2 points, 0 for failure, 1 for partial success, 2 for perfect. Maximum score 6 points across all 3 tests. Before we look at the candidates, there's one core principle for general purpose problem solving. Parameter count matters more than quantization quality. A heavily compressed 8 billion parameter model retains more knowledge than a natively small 4 billion parameter model at high precision of same size. Well up to a certain level of quantization, which means compression for LLMs. Below that level, quality breaks and the model responds nonsense. Now I've already made a video about quantization. I'll link it in the description. Short version for today: you need to stay around 4-bit quantization like Q4KM in order to hit the 4 GB target with acceptable quality. The testing funnel. I started with 12 to 14 GB LLM sizes to max out the capabilities of my GPU and to check whether the model's results are worth continuing with smaller sizes. Then 8 GB, then push down to the final 4 GB target. Many models lose coherence below 4 GB, so that's our hard floor. Links to all models on Hugging Face in the description. I've tested Ministral 3.14b Q8 Instruct as a local alternative in my flagship model benchmark video, the only one without internet access. It did surprisingly well, so today we're using the new reasoning version, Ministral 8b Reasoning, as the benchmark for the other 3 SLMs. It's built for System 2 thinking, the kind of deliberate step-by-step logic you need for debugging code or solving multi-step problems. Performance at 14 GB with Q8K is excellent, scores 4 out of 6 points, even beats some flagship online models. The reasoning is definitely a huge benefit for Ministral 3, and I'm sure that a larger Ministral 3 would score even higher. But because of the reasoning, it is slow and the context window fills quickly. If you run into memory issues or the context fills up too quickly, choose the next smaller quantization. Under 8 GB in size is Q5KXL and scores 2 of 6 points. Treatment of mosquito bites and repellents without a problem, and successfully discovers the airlock in the heating system. Planning a Fuji climb seems to be too complicated with that small size. The good news: the less than 4 GB model IQ3M achieves same score as the 8 GB model. So we found our first SLM offering successful support in 2 out of 3 tasks. A model so small that you can easily run it locally on your PC, laptop and even your smartphones and tablets. That's the benchmark for today. Use case: logic-heavy tasks where speed isn't critical. You might have heard about Quint 3, It's been making rounds in the SLM community. I tested it extensively, but in my benchmarks it consistently underperformed compared to the models I'm showing you today. So let's focus on what actually works. Llama 3.3 has been around for a while, but the 8B version was only released recently, originally almost a stealth release by Meta. But now the absolute workhorse in the SLM space. The model is Llama 3.3 8B Instruct, bringing a 128K context window that's useful for long documents. The Q8O model is around 14 GB and achieves 2 out of 6 points. That doesn't sound spectacular, but here's the trick. The Q6K model is under 8 GB and achieves the same score, and this holds true even for the under 4 GB version, the SLM, which is by the way in the IQ3M format, that's importance-based quantization, at 3-bit precision, which preserves the most critical model weights even under aggressive compression. Hence, in order to use the 8B model as SLM, we had to drop below Q for quantization, but this model's IQ3M is stable enough and we profit from the larger parameter space. Not utilizing any reasoning, it is faster than Ministral, and both the under 8 GB and under 4 GB versions achieve the same number of points. Verdict: Llama 3.3 is a workhorse. It is not flashy but consistent, good for summarization, general Q&A, standard instruction following. No deep reasoning loops like Ministral, but also no weird failures. Use case: general purpose, reliable assistant. The next LLM was not on my radar, but I'm glad I've stumbled into it. LFM2 is another 8B model. I've tested the quantizations Q8KXL, Q6KXL and Q3KS. The last one is less than 4 GB. LFM2 uses a mixture of experts, MOE architecture. Instead of activating all 8 billion parameters for every query, it routes the input to specialized subnetworks. Result: much faster inference. It's by far the fastest model in the test, and I recommend it especially for any hardware with low bandwidth, most mini PCs for example. Here we have the special case that the below 8 GB variant scores 3 points, beating the larger 14 GB variant which only scores 2 points. The SLM, the variant below 4 GB, drops to 2 points, holding the same score as both SLMs of the models before. Verdict: if speed is your priority, LFM2 delivers. But in the test, the Mount Fuji failure is a red flag. Don't use it for safety critical or planning heavy tasks. Our last model is a big surprise. I've already mentioned it in my last video about small language models, and it still achieves great results. Google's Gemma 3 comes in multiple sizes, but for our 4 GB target, we're looking at the 4B parameter version in Q4KM quantization. And it achieves 3 of 6 points. That's outstanding for such a small model. For context, the larger 12B version in IQ3M quantization stays under 8 GB and scores 2 points. The 27B version, also in IQ3M, stays under 14 GB and scores 4 points, on par with Ministral. I'm sure with more VRAM and a higher quality quantization it could do even better. But those exceed our 4 GB limit. It's one of the slower models, but the quality is worth it. Verdict: best balance of logic, safety awareness and size. If you can pick only one model for the 4 GB slot, this is it. Oh, and here's the kicker. OpenAI's GPT-OS S20B is a well-known model that's much faster because of its mixture of experts architecture. But when I compared the 14 GB versions, Gemma 3 still came out on top. That's the power of smart compression and architecture. You don't always need more parameters. So 4 GB is the hard limit. Below that, models start to lose coherence. My recommendations: for logic-heavy tasks, Ministral 8B reasoning, if you can tolerate the slower speed. For general use, Gemma 3 or Llama 3.3, Both solid, Gemma edges ahead in complex diagnostics. For speed LFM2, the mixture of experts model. All model file names are in the description. Download LM Studio, it's free, works on Windows, Mac and Linux. Load these models, go offline, own your data. And if you missed my first video on small language models, the one with Tiny Llama, Gemma and 5.4, I linked that too. This is the updated version with current models and the 4GB focus. If that was useful, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want more no-BS AI content. What's your use case for local AI? Already running models at 4GB? Let me know in the comments. Stay curious, see you in the next one.